didn't see it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there was not any specifics in that. It said how much the state was getting, and it said it was based on some indicators, mileage of roads and population. But without knowing how much the state's going to withhold for their own highway projects, you can't do any decent math to see how much Newtown's going to get for now.
And the state's going to decide what Newtown gets and the other towns?
That's right,
They're
through
gonna decide
a
what
formula.
Newtown gets.
Okay, thank you.
You want to answer? I think the difference is the difference in expected revenue versus how they change one category into two separate ones.
Yeah,
You got it.
I follow.
Will I ask you a question?
Yeah, Joe, in one of my questions to you, I'd asked about what would happen, or what specific cuts would occur, or projects not be completed or started, if in fact we didn't get that $850,000. And I was directed to a page 126 in the book, but I'm not sure that maybe you could clarify that for me. What particular projects will not be done, will likely not be done or not be completed if we in fact cut the bridge and roads as suggested by the Board of Selectmen, and we don't get the federal $850,000 money?
We could take it off the rack.
If you look at the detail on the bottom of page 126, the Public Works Director detailed projects that would have went on. Out of those projects, we budgeted $400,000. I'm not sure which one of them he would fund, but the rest would not be funded.
So has there been any discussion or talk as to what projects would be done and what projects would be not?
No.
I know these are all the projects, but this doesn't
That's correct, but there have not been any discussions at this point in time relative to what will and will not be done until we get a better handle on what's going to happen with the stimulus funds. You know, we could be running around in circles trying to figure out what we're going to do, and we won't really know until we know what we're going to get from through the stimulus funds, if anything.
But you haven't prioritized, in other words, you haven't prioritized 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are the priorities. If we get 700,000, we can do this number. If we get 600, we can do this, 500, et cetera.
Well, if you're talking about highways and bridges, or just
Correct, both?
both, we would concentrate on, and the priorities would be on the bridges, because you can't start a bridge and run out of money when it's half done. So the priority would be on the bridges, and then we'd do the roads, and when we ran out of money, then the road repairs would stop.
Are those projects done by outside contractors entirely, or are parts of them done with internal resources?
I would say it would depend on what the magnitude of the project is. If it's a big project, we're requiring a lot of extra time and equipment and things like that, then it would probably be done by an outside contractor. Smaller jobs would be done by the highway department. But again, Fred Hurley, who's down in Florida on vacation visiting his mother, won't be back until next week, so if we want to bring that up next week on the 9th, we could do that.
I will. I just want to know, just in general, would you say that all of the projects listed here on page 126 for the federal stimulus would all be done by outside contractors?
You're on what page?
126. It totals up to $1,950,000. Generally, they're anywhere from $150,000 to $350,000. I think there's about 6, 7. Looks like
They'll probably go out for that.
7 projects.
Sorry?
We'll probably go out and do it by contract.
Yeah. No, I think those are projects that would probably be contracted out.
All contracted.
Yeah. May I interject? The Board of Selectmen did not take any action relative to the Lake Zor Authority's budget, which is on page 7 of Section 5. right at the top of the page, 360 Lake Authorities. They didn't have their meeting until last night, which I attended, and as a result of the questions, some of the questions I asked, there were 4 of them, those items on that budget, town police, particularly the boats and motors, and also the other. Said to him, what's the other? Define other. So I'm going to give John a copy of our page plus the one that I got from Lake Zor last night. But as a result of these inquiries, I established a pretty good relationship with Bob Barnes, who is now the new chairman of the Lake Zor Authority, and they were able to reduce their budget from $38,175 to $25,425. So I'd like to request that the Board of Finance log that into their column. That's a $13,750 reduction.
Okay.
Since you jumped to that topic, Joe, I got a copy of your email, I guess, where you highlighted this. My question to you is, we can make that adjustment, and I would try to make sure that we don't forget to do that. I don't know if you want to make a motion now to do that, but before we do that, Mike, so we don't forget, because the selectmen did not. The question I have for you, Joe, is, if I heard you correctly, and according to your email, the total of their budget went from $152,000 to roughly $104,000?
That's correct.
Okay, and our portion went from $38,000 to $25,000?
Yes, that's supposed to be the 4 towns equal split.
All right, my question to you is, what are the towns in the Lake Zor Authority?
What are the other towns?
Yeah.
Southbury, Oxford, and Monroe. Now, Monroe is indicated, and this is something that the Board of Selectmen will have to discuss, is indicated that they only want to put $20,000 into their share. Historically, there is no document with the Lake Zor Authority that specifies that we towns agreed that we would split their budget 4 ways. So that's something we have, once we get done with the budget, we're going to have to get together, the 4 selectmen are going to have to get together and come up with some kind of an agreement as to how we're going to equalize this budget.
Well, that actually was the root of my question. Why are we splitting it equally? And we don't know the answer to that?
Well, there's several ways you can do it. You can either do it by linear feet that you have on the lake, or you can just take it as a package. And all the towns have done that except for Monroe, because they claim they only have 6,140 feet or something like that of lakeshore. But the thing, but my contention is, yes, you may only have that, but you have the use of an 11-mile lake, just like everybody else. So we should be equally splitting this bill. And the thing that they seem to very quickly forget is that they get tremendous revenue from the riverside down there, that new facility which is in Monroe. They also collect big revenues from the power plant. Originally, my understanding is that power plant was supposed to be on the other side of the river in Oxford, not in Monroe. So we're going to have to talk with Tom Buzzy, who's the first selectman, and see if we can't convince him to, pony up the extra $5,000.
One of the things that we've done, whether it's in the last few years, whether it's been the library or it's been even departments of the town, even Edmond Town Hall, whenever a public, I guess this is a public agency, even though it's a group, has come and asked the town of Newtown for money, okay, we've always wanted to see the other side of the equation, just like the things that you're talking about. Do you know the revenues and what they're making? I mean,
I don't know that, John.
Is it public information?
I'm sorry?
Is it public information?
I would imagine it would be, but I would have to, check with the other 3 towns.
Well, it would seem to me to be a logical question that if in fact they're requesting public funds,
Right.
to understand why they're asking for it. If this is something that operates on public funds only,